Sweet liberty, there's too many of them!
Contacts north, bearing 010.
Target confirmed down, sir!
This there'd be an all-you-can-eat sushi bar.
We're being overrun! Pull back!
There's too many enemies, and we're out of ice cream!
Daddy's home. I feel like I forgot something. If you've ever hopped on a mission and been unsure of what to bring, it might be that you need a lesson in team composition. Or you forgot the ice cream. My name is Commissar Kai, and before we get into roles, loadouts, and weapons, we need to cover some common tactics that make working together with our fellow Helldivers much easier. If for some reason you want to skip the tactics to make the team comps work, check out the timestamps to bring your treasonous butt straight to the loadouts, Helldiver. But for the rest of you, let's get to it. For today's lesson in liberation, I brought my Marine buddy back to give us a few pointers in urban warfare to complement our team composition.
One of the things that you'll see me do is we assault forward while under fire. We don't stop moving forward. This is that operational tempo thing.
These tactics will serve you well on all battlefields and against all factions, with one exception. And I'll mention it when the time comes. But if I get something wrong, feel free to correct me in the comments. That said, I know you Helldivers. Most of y'all have the attention span that would make a rabid goldfish blush, and your reading ability ain't much better. So I'll keep this real simple and to the point so you can get back to reclaiming humanity's galaxy. When fighting through a chaotic environment like the streets of our megacities, you have to be cautious to avoid pasting the wrong targets or getting shot in the back by your allies.
Huh?
What? So the first thing we're going to cover is controlling sectors of fire. It doesn't matter what you bring to the battlefield or where you're fighting the enemy. If you don't know how to position yourself to lay the hurt down on our foes, then you'll be a much less effective asset to Super Earth. The city streets are a mix of wide open areas and a maze of tight corridors, both of which can be used to our advantage. If, for example, you find yourself out in the open, the first thing you'll want to do is hit the deck. This makes you a smaller target to the enemy, and makes it easier for Helldivers behind you to effectively engage that enemy. Just don't do this against the bugs unless you're in a prepared position. These wide city streets mean that our squad can spread out and pour fire down from multiple angles. Having overlapping fields of fire multiplies the amount of strongly worded letters we can deliver to the enemies of humanity far above what any individual Helldiver can do. When things get too hot, like here when a massive fishball of tyranny gets dropped on my head, you'll want to retreat to a better position while your team lays on the heat. But once you've gotten some distance, hit the dirt and add your fire to your teams. If you notice your team all pointed in one direction engaging the enemy, be sure to take a look around before adding your fire to the mix. Otherwise, you might get snuck up on by a pack of voteless. Nobody saw that. Nobody saw that. Like I said earlier, it doesn't matter what kind of ordnance you brought. Every diver can pick a zone and cover it with their weapons of choice. But generally speaking, you'll want your chaff-clearing Helldivers at the front, covering your squad as you move. The only real exception is if you're fighting the bugs, where packs of hunters can ruin your day if they hit you from the rear. While your frontliners keep the field clear, you'll want your backline support and AT divers to keep an eye on the flanks and the rear, only lending their attention to the main fight to deploy stratagems or to drop a big target. Yeah, I brought him down. Nice.
What is that? By our powers combined as Leviathan kill.
These aren't hard rules, but if you've been struggling to fit into your squads, it's an easy way to think about it. Now that you know what to do when you're standing still, let's go over how to move as a unit, or operational tempo. I'm told this means, how quickly can we deliver hate and discontent to the enemy? That has to be one of the most beautiful sentences I've ever read. But to expand on it a bit, operational tempo is the speed and intensity of our actions relative to the speed and intensity of unfolding events in the operational environment. I took that one straight from Super Google. Basically, you want to be planning your next moves and executing them before the enemy has time to group up and attack you. For a basic example, if you see an unholy mess of tentacled tyrants marching down the street and you can't deal with them immediately, duck into an alley and bait them into a kill funnel. This is you making a quick decision to negate the advantage of an enemy while placing yourself in a prime position to capitalize on that situation. To have good operational tempo, you don't want to be in one place any longer than you absolutely have to be. If you need to hunker down and fight for an objective, that's totally fine. But once that objective is complete or that bot drop is finished, you'll want your squad to break contact with the enemy through the use of gas, fire, EMS, or just a crap load of ordnance. Throwing gas fire down that alleyway. Chunky, give me an EMS.
Yep, that's a great idea. this would be a great idea to just. This is where we can ranger peel back out and around.
This is where communication comes into play. Now hold on, I felt the collective puckering of all the shy divers that watch my videos. This does not mean you have to talk if you don't want to, but it does mean that you need to communicate your intentions to your team. This can almost always be done using the ping system. For example, if you need to break contact because things are getting too messy, ping on the map where you want to go, ping follow me, and drop some area denial on the combat area. Once you've done that, get out of the immediate area and wait to see what happens next. This does a couple of things. It disorients the enemy by virtue of them being gassed or on fire. It lets your team know that it's time to move, and your body language of leaving the fight makes them feel like they'll be left behind the pack if they don't also move. Of course, this won't work on everyone all of the time, but in that case, you can always hoof it to the next objective and gather your team once they've inevitably died, or find a good Overwatch position and cover them from there. Once you've started clicking with your teammates, or playing my Discord server where we're all about team play and coordination, shameless plug, you can start executing more complex operational tempo maneuvers. One of my favorites is the Ranger Peel, or Aussie Peel, Bound in Fire sections. It's got a lot of names, okay? This maneuver is a fantastic way to keep your squad mobile while laying down continuous fire on the enemy. And the best part, you can do it even with people that don't know you're doing it. Here's how it works.
All right, set.
Okay, moving.
Calling down a sentry. Requesting sentry.
Hopefully you're drawing a lot of aggro for me.
Set.
Yeah, moving.
One Helldiver picks a direction and advances towards it. Once they've found a good piece of cover, they'll lay down and say set. Once they've done that, they'll start firing on the enemy. While they shoot, you're going to move past their position to the next piece of cover before also saying set and adding your own fire to the mix. Just repeat this process until the enemy is dead or you are wherever you wanted to be. I use this tactic all the time on bots, since standing out in the open is a great way to get killed on that front. But it works great on the streets of Super Earth as well. Once you've practiced it a bit, you'll start doing it naturally without needing to say anything. Last bit of communication I want to cover is simple. If you need to cross a fellow Helldiver's field of fire, call out crossing before jumping in front of their bullets. Alright, I'm gonna go hit the... My bad. That was dumb. I shouldn't have done that. There's a lot more I could say on communication, but we have more to go over. So if you want to know more about effective communication, let me know and I'll make a video on it. The last thing we'll cover before getting into roles and specific loadouts is area denial, which thankfully is exactly what it says on the tin. Pick an area and deny the enemy access to it. This can be done with massive amounts of firepower, fire, gas, or stun effects. Whatever makes the enemy less comfortable to be standing on our planets is effectively area denial, even if it's a flag dropped from low orbit. Where is the flag? Dude, the flag just hit a ship on the way down and killed it. But it does go slightly deeper than that. Basically, you have a finite amount of area you can cover with your weapons at any one time. We don't have great peripheral vision as Helldivers, so closing off potential flanks with something like incendiary grenades or blanket in the front line and gas can give you the time you need to reposition, reload, or input more stratagems. Think of area denial as a way to buy your team time and enjoy the screams of our enemies. Okay, y'all have been good Helldivers making it this far, so let's talk about roles and how they fit into a team. The Illuminate have Volus, Flesh Mobs, and Stingrays to pressure you out of positions, while their Overseers, Harvesters, and Leviathans will try to send you home in a bucket. Since they do tend to stick to a front-to-back style of combat, we want our team to be able to counter these threats easily. Bots and bugs will require a bit more AT, but that won't usually change more than your grenade or secondary option when you suit up for a mission. Now y'all can play however you like, but if you've been struggling with picking your loadout to complement your team, then hopefully this will give you some idea what you should be doing. Generally, you want 2 people on chaff clear, meaning they'll focus on the voteless, flesh mobs, and generally anything that wants to get close to you. Every faction has some form of tyrannical garbage that will pressure you by walking at you menacingly, so it's our chaff clearer's duty to keep them at bay. You'll want 1 diver on AT duty to quickly handle harvesters, destroy spawners, and poke holes in leviathans. Get them on the butthole.
Do a barrel roll!
Oh, that was
Well.
glorious.
Do a flip!
Okay.
You guys wanna go do main real quick?
Oh no!
Interloper.
Oh my god!
Oh.
You said do a flip, I turn around, you die in the most spectacular way I've seen. Which if y'all didn't know, the best way to handle these hate-fueled whales is to blow off one of their wings or crack their belly. Once you've done that, pour heavy pin weapons into the breach. If you don't have a dedicated AT player, the Commando and AT emplacement can do this extremely easily. The Commando only takes 3 rockets to break a part off, leaving you 1 left over to crack a clam or pop a harvester, and the AT emplacement can bring the whale down to the oil refinery easily by itself. If you're against other factions, you'll probably want 2 divers on AT duty since it makes fighting the bugs and bots much more comfortable with all the armor they have walking around. Finally, we want 1 diver focused on support. Now, what counts as support is a very wide-ranging definition, but someone carrying around supplies and a flag to keep your team topped off and motivated, a medic healing everyone with a stim pistol, or an engineer dropping emplacements, EATs, and sentries will always be welcome on any team against any faction. Our chaff clears should be equipped with machine guns, grenade launchers, and guard dogs or supply packs. They are the team's bullet hoses and the ones that will keep the tide of tyranny back. For primaries, they'll want something that can complement their support weapon. A few good options are the Jar 5, Scorcher, Purifier, any of the Liberator variants, and the Eruptor. No, still not you. Never you. There's plenty more, but basically you want your primary to be capable of handling overseers and purging the voter registrations. Grenade launchers and MGs can handle these targets, but you'll want something to buy you space while you go for reloads or to spare your ammunition reserves. For secondaries, you'll want something reliable that can get you out of a pinch, so the Senator, Verdict, or any of the close combat weapons work wonders on the squid front. You can also bring the Ultimatum if you're scared of not having a direct threat to heavy armor, but the Illuminate really only have the Harvester that fills this role, so I don't think you need it. For grenades, I know you might be tempted to bring thermites to ensure you have an answer for armor, but again, the Illuminate haven't figured out how to strap plates of steel to themselves yet, so there really isn't a need. Instead, consider G6 frags, TED 63 dynamite, or one of my favorites, the G10 incendiaries or the G4 gas grenades. Out of all these, the G10s are probably the best, since they'll really hurt flesh mobs and will destroy whole packs of Oatless. Plus, they give you another form of area denial while still being able to destroy spawners. If you're against the bots or the bugs, that's where thermites come in, since they have a lot more armored threats that you'll want to be able to handle. Stratagems are going to focus on area denial without being labeled a traitor, so no orbital napalms. But you can lean on the Eagle version or the orbital gas strike to thin out the crowds or to give you a chance to disengage. Round out the loadout with a supply pack or a guard dog and a machine gun sentry, and you'll be fully capable of flooding our streets with ink while your backline supports you. Speaking of backline, if your calling is to put big holes in big targets or cosplay as a tube of toothpaste, oh my god, it's the Colgate man. Why are your pants so skinny, Helldiver? Then this is where you belong. You want to be a proper big game hunter supporting your team with heavy ordnance. You'll want the recoilless rifle. Other AT options can work on this front, but the recoilless rifle gives you the versatility needed to handle any threat while not smacking into the walls of our buildings. For other fronts, you can use any of the AT options since it'll be easier to land those long-range shots. But for squids, stick to the recoilless rifle if you want to bring hard AT support. You don't have to. The autocannon is another great backline option that'll work well since it is great at handling flesh mobs and flying overseers with its flak mode, while maintaining the ability to easily kill off harvesters with its AFET rounds. Whatever you choose, stick in the back and hunt those big targets. For primaries, you'll want something that will make the enemy respect your personal space. Your job isn't to push the team forward, it's to provide the firepower needed to make your chaff clearers' jobs easier. So we want a primary that is maneuverable and able to quickly put down threats that would impede our ability to lob death at the enemy. Reach for the Jar 5 if you've upgraded it or run the Peak Physique armor passive, or any of the shotguns. These weapons will let you quickly handle medium armored threats that get too close to you while not leaving you helpless against fast moving, lightly armored threats. Your secondary isn't all that important, but against the squids I would recommend one of the melee options since they will save you a lot of ammo. Against other factions, just take whatever you're most comfortable with. For grenades, bring either gas or fire against the squids. If you don't have either, bring G6 frags to help clear the field. Against anything else, bring a grenade that will help you deal with clumps of enemies since your support weapon is focused on the big targets. I know it's tempting to bring thermites with a recoilless rifle, but those really should be on your frontline divers if you're up against the bots or the bugs. Carl Gustav didn't raise no quitters. Your recoilless rifle should be plenty for taking out tanks. Stratagems should also fit the I like big guns mindset. Against the bugs or the bots, bring plenty of orbital support like the Gatling Barrage or one of the other big booms. Fill the rest out with sentries and emplacements and you'll be set to ensure your team never has to deal with heavy armor again. Now support covers a wide range like I mentioned, because this is the most flexible role in a team. You can add firepower to help your chaff clear out, bodyguard your AT diver, or sneak your way through the map, wiping out objectives while your team ties up the tyrannical masses. In the fight for Super Earth, your support player will want to bring the supply pack and the commando, or the flag for, Super Earth. Both of these stratagems will enable your team and make sure you always have the munitions to send the squids to the kitchen. The rest of your kit should be built around keeping yourself safe, or providing extra support for your team. Against the bots, smoke screens are highly underused, but can be a massive help in a big fight. Against the bugs, littering the whole map with EATs and commandos gives your squad the ability to rapidly adjust to chargers and titans running you down. Whatever you pick, it should be in the spirit of making your team's life easier. That goes for all roles, but is especially true for the support. That's all I have for you today, so until next time, this is Commissar Kai signing out. Shady, give me you're under fire and you're maiming and you need Erevin here. I got the recording on.
Oh, if only Erevin was here.
Did you have to put the code in there?